Videos like these are made possible by viewers like you, who support the channel through Patreon, channel memberships, and stream donations. Check the description for links to these and more. Now let's get into the video. I kind of have a problem with a few classes in that I feel that the majority of their unlockable weapons don't shake the game up enough in order to really justify their existence outside of a general feeling of preference. Like, Spy's knife unlocks are diverse, sure, but ultimately you're still playing the game in pretty much the same way with all of them. Get behind people, backstab them for an instant kill, repeat. Same thing with something like Demo Man's grenade launchers outside of the loose cannon. The Iron Bomber is so similar to stock in just about every way that the minutiae which separate the two are really the only point of discussion to be had with it, and the same goes for something like the original on Soldier. But honestly, I feel like these are small-time comparisons to the biggest offender of them all, and that's everyone's favorite class, Sniper. Sniper has access to 7 primary weapons, not counting weapon reskins, and of those, I'd say only 3 are distinct enough to really separate themselves from the stock sniper rifle in a meaningful way. Like, the Bizarre Bargain is literally just the stock sniper rifle, but better assuming you can aim, which God willing you can considering you're playing sniper in the first place, but hey, it's never stopped me before. The Machina is functionally identical to the stock sniper rifle, except for when you're fully charged or unscoped, with the minor exception of having a tracer round alerting all enemies to your position. I know that a lot of people consider the Machina to be much like the Bizarre Bargain, the sniper rifle but better, but I honestly can't help but see it as just being the stock sniper rifle but slightly worse, because the downsides really screw with your longevity, while the upsides are incredibly niche. And then there's the side grade to end all side grades, the Hitman's Heatmaker. This is a weapon that's so similar to the stock sniper rifle is that I honestly think the main reason people equip it is not actually for its mechanical benefits, but for the sake of aesthetic preferences. Which is to say, people like the silenced pew pew sounds and they like the funny head explodies. This has always been a weapon that I've largely neglected, but since starting out on a new challenge where I play sniper for a month, with this being my weapon of choice, I've decided to take a deep dive into what makes this weapon tick. Well, for the most part, the Hitman's Heatmaker is completely identical to the stock sniper rifle. It deals 150 to 450 damage on headshots depending on your charge level, but you'll do 20% less damage on body shots, only 40 to 120 damage, meaning you can't just fully charge up a body shot and one-shot an enemy sniper or a medic or something. Honestly, the downside is probably my favorite part of this weapon because it encourages me to always go for headshots whenever possible, since if I don't, the damage is much more substandard. I think it's a good downside that doesn't totally punish the sniper just for having the weapon equipped, as long as he's hitting his headshots. The upside to compensate for this is the focus system. You can build up the focus meter by either killing enemies or getting assists on them. It doesn't even matter which weapon you use in order to do this. So you can kill a spy with your kukri, or pepper someone with an SMG bullet that someone else gets the finishing blow on, and you will end up getting at least some focus for that. Interestingly, unlike most other meters in the game, focus can be activated no matter the charge level, and if you keep getting kills and assists while under the effects of focus, it'll just keep going theoretically forever in a big positive feedback loop. It's kind of like Uber chaining, except it's all on your own. Now, what the focus meter does in the first place once it's activated is give you a 25% faster charging speed, and you no longer unscope in order to reload. But there's even a downside to activating focus, which is that now your gun will fire tracer rounds exactly like the Machina, meaning this ability carries a decently higher risk-reward factor as you can't remain completely sedentary while using it, and the lack of unscoping while reloading can actually have a major effect on your tunnel vision and make you far more vulnerable to flankers who now know your exact position, which can definitely be helpful to the enemy when your shots are a lot quieter than they would be on the other rifles. Now, in terms of game balance, I'd argue this is the single best sniper rifle unlock in the entire game. It's not overpowered or underpowered, it slots in very nicely as a side grade. I've already talked about the Bizarre Bargain in a previous video, and this just feels like a much better balanced version of that weapon, with a little bit of Machina downside thrown in there for good measure. In fact, the crafting recipe for this weapon involves combining a Bizarre Bargain and a Machina. It's nice when crafting recipes do that instead of whatever the fuck this is. Now, it doesn't increase the charge level nearly as much as the Bizarre Bargain, but I think that's a good thing for a couple of reasons. For starters, at full charge, the Bizarre Bargain charges so fast that with no damage penalty whatsoever, it's way too easy to get enough charge to kill higher health classes simply by taking the time to line up your shot. And second, it can potentially take a lot less effort to get a focus meter charge in the first place. Considering you can get full focus through nothing but assists or body shots or even secondary or melee kills, and you can activate the focus meter at any time you want, I'd say that focus is meant to be fairly disposable, and not given the same amount of value as getting 6 headshot kills in a single life. Something pretty interesting is that both of the upsides of the focus meter work fairly well together. See, even though you're not unscoping, you are still reloading, and you can't fire the weapon immediately after already firing it. You have to wait the normal 1.5 second reload time like with all the other rifles. However, during this 1.5 second reload, as long as you don't manually unscope, your gun doesn't stop charging. So just by using focus at all and staying scoped in, you're not only getting a faster charge, you're getting bonus charge on top of that you wouldn't have gotten if you were using another rifle. And that can be pretty useful. Add on top of that the tracer round and reduced body shot damage, and I think that balance-wise, the focus meter is a very well thought out and very well balanced upside to give to a sniper rifle unlock. Well done, Valve. Now, in terms of actual practical gameplay, I'm gonna be real, I forget the focus meter even exists like 99% of the time I'm using this thing. I don't know if anyone else is with me on that one, but for the most part, I end up using this thing as, more or less, a stock sniper rifle reskin. One of the big reasons for this is, I think, the context in which focus should ideally be at its most useful. One of those contexts is against a big group of enemies who you can kill one after the other. Well, the problem with that is that a big group of enemies is one of the worst things you can choose to engage as a sniper unless you're pretty much a god. Oh! Yo! I'm cracked! Because you can only kill one person every 1.5 seconds at your absolute best, and in that time, a big group can send about 15 rockets, grenades, crossbows, and who knows what else at you. Even if you choose to engage the group from very far away because you're on a map that lets you get away with that, you still have to worry about not only flankers and spies screwing you over while you can't even see them approaching you when you might be able to otherwise, but also, because you lack the base sniper movement speed while constantly scoped in, your evasive maneuverability is fucked unless you unscope fairly often and risk losing your focus charge altogether, making the upside fairly redundant. This also calls into question the usefulness of this ability against directly fighting a lot of your biggest threats as a sniper, which is to say, other snipers and scouts. There's nothing that makes both of these classes happier than an enemy sniper who basically stands perfectly still. And since these are enemies with low health pools to begin with, there's no benefit to having a faster charge against them. The other time it feels best to use this ability is when enemies are trickling into your holding point slowly, but not so slowly that you run out of focus meter, and they all need to be coming in from one direction, and you can probably see why this is also a problem. Multiple enemies pushing usually consists of them all pushing at once, often from multiple directions. This may not even happen intentionally, but just through the nature of respawn waves. This turns it into a big group, and we just got done talking about why those are a bad idea to fight. And another thing is that enemies tend to learn from their mistakes and their deaths unless they're really stupid or stubborn, which, hey, accounts for a lot of pub players, but certainly not all of them. Some enemies who get shot in one place will likely take an alternate route in order to avoid getting shot again the next life. And unless the sniper's team is so hyper competent that he pretty much only needs to focus on one guy, the sniper is going to be way too busy shooting at the other 11 people on your team in order to worry about you going an alternate route. And hell, even if the sniper's team is hyper competent, that's just less opportunities to both get focus charge and use it in the first place. Now don't get me wrong, I don't think that focus is a bad ability. It's situationally quite useful. I've been able to use it to kill overhealed kunai spies I wouldn't be able to kill normally, not to mention plenty of heavies, soldiers, pyros, all in a reasonable amount of time. And against a team with a medic keeping everyone overhealed, it's not a bad option to have access to, since it helps you break through that overheal buff a lot easier. However, I find it situational in a way that makes it difficult to figure out when it's a good idea to even equip it as a countermeasure, and it functions so similarly to the stock sniper rifle in nearly all other situations that I find myself struggling to remember to even use it because, hey, the stock sniper rifle does its job pretty damn well. I think this speaks of a larger issue with sniper rifles, and that I think they're largely too simple for their own good. When you think about it, their damage, their ability to deal critical headshots, and their charge rate are really the only factors that ever get edited in unlocks, because that's all you really can edit. Now granted, there's a good reason not to push these unlocks too far, because Sniper is already a very powerful class, and giving him an unlock that allows him to specialize in an area he doesn't already can be pretty dangerous in terms of balance. The Bizarre Bargain already goes too far there, and it's literally just an increase in charge rate. This is another reason that, and now several months of testing proving the concept works on my rebalance server, that makes me think the sniper rifles having a clip and a hard reload is a good idea, because it adds more opportunities for different balance changes. I bet the Bizarre Bargain wouldn't feel nearly as overpowered if it had a slower reload speed or a smaller clip, and weapons like the classic and Sydney Sleeper would be a lot more palatable if they had higher clip sizes or faster reload speeds compared to their contemporaries, and it serves to make them feel even more unique. None of the sniper rifles really do anything like this though. Most of them just add what amount to weird gimmick stats, and I think that the focus meter can definitely feel like one of those. I don't think it's nearly as situational as I find the upsides of the Machina to be, but it feels just a bit dull. I'm not sure why I should run the Hitman's Heatmaker over the other rifles, unless I want to deliberately handicap myself with lower body shot damage. Or, of course, unless I'm playing MVM, because holy shit, those well thought out and extremely balanced upsides go flying out the goddamn window and straight into the fucking sun in this game mode. This is a serious contender for the strongest weapon in all of MVM. More than the Beggar's Bazooka, Kritzkrieg, Scottish Resistance, Gas Passer, and even the Penis Scout loadout. And it's all thanks to two little upgrades: Explosive Headshot and Reload Speed. Explosive Headshot is one of the most broken upgrades in the entire game, if not the most broken. Oh sure, the Explosive Gas Passer upgrade is busted as hell, but unless you're currently also mowing down a tank, you're not going to be able to throw the gas over and over and over again. That's basically Explosive Headshot. It's the Gas Passer on demand. It's massive crowd control that deals significant damage while also applying a slowdown effect to the robots it hits. It changes Sniper's entire class from single target elimination to basically having every single headshot be akin to a sticky trap. And combined with the reload speed is when things get really crazy. So remember before when I said you had to wait the entire 1.5 second reload in order to shoot with the Heatmaker again? Well, in MVM, once you upgrade your reload speed, no longer a concern. The firing speed is noticeably faster than if you were to unscope after every shot, and this lets you do insane amounts of damage to massive groups of enemies who all trickle in slowly and predictably from one direction, but not so slowly that you risk running out of charge. Both of these upgrades, combined with the focus meter, take full advantage of the mechanic's strengths while throwing the weaknesses into the dumpster. This is so broken to the point that some snipers on Big Rock can basically solo the entire mission just by standing on a rock and shooting directly into the robot's single spawn point. It's fucking insane. It's so remarkable how what ends up being a well-balanced yet situational upside in the main game ends up making this one of the strongest abilities in the game in another game mode, and leaves the completely overpowered weapon that it's a more balanced version of in the dust. I think we've all learned something from this. I don't know what it is, but we've definitely learned something.
Wait, should we mention it? The Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Why would you do that?
Dude, come on! This sucks!
A connection between you and all four of those cases. Would you agree? Geographically,
And then I guess
or
I drive past, yes, I
yes.
say